Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Pathfinder video we have a very special guide. My first ever summoner build. I was actually surprised by how decent summons can be when you are not just built for them, but also know how to properly empower them, all of which I will cover here. As you can see, even late game your summons by themselves can become forces to be reckoned with. After all, it's only my main character, the summoner, and the summons attacking here. You still have the rest of your 5 party members. And we'll be going the AEON Mythic path for its many unique special abilities that directly boost the power of your summons, such as Bane for free on all summoned creatures' attacks, including the super powerful Dispelling property, and of course the gazes, especially the one built for summons. Even spells for something as crazy as complete physical damage immunity party-wide. And of course, I'll also cover tips, especially when it comes to the early game, on how to have a good time with your summoner. Lastly, this character will be quite competent at melee as well. You aren't just a passive summoner, because you can easily attack and contribute to damage yourself. So without further ado, let us get into our summoner guide for Wrath of the Righteous first, with the best summons in the game. And for now, I'll cover the main summon monster spells, which is what you'll get for free as a class ability for the build I have prepared, Monster Tactician, Inquisitor. The very first one is rather poor because it's just a single dog and there's no way of increasing it. But it's what you get, just don't be surprised if it doesn't do much. Summon Monster 2 is already way better because you can summon 1d3 dogs, except through Superior Summoning, which we gain right at the same level. You get even more for a maximum of 5 dogs at once. If you are familiar with the concept of action economy, then you know, well, the more characters with more actions in your party, the better for you. And this is going to be the same logic as far as the other summon monster versions. Whenever you gain an increase in power, you get to summon multiple creatures of the previous one, or just a single creature of the new one. Ideally, you want to focus on multiple creatures of the previous one, because like I said, action economy. At Summon Monster 3, you can finally summon the wolves. Wolves are a big upgrade over the dogs, because just like the wolf pet, they can trip on hit for free. It doesn't need any saying, a tripped enemy is a dead enemy. Even if your summons won't have the highest trip attempt, it's up to 5 wolves attacking the enemy at once, not to mention your own pet, right? Chances are some enemies will fail their saves, because the effect is applied for free. For Summon Monster 5, the wolves will be upgraded to dire wolves. Also great because strip for free is strip for free. Now, starting from Summon Monster 6 onwards is when you can summon different creatures other than animals, in multiple numbers anyways, starting with red caps if you are evil, or some AZATAs if you aren't. Now, I'm afraid evil summons are just better than the good aligned ones, because a lot of the good aligned summons like the AZATAs here, the Axiomites or the Devas, they waste a lot of time casting useless spells in battle. It's not really as optimal. Meanwhile, the evil summons are mostly heavy hitters like Soul Eaters, the Red Caps or the Frost Giants. They just rush at the enemy and attack, which is exactly what you want them to do. Anyways, Summon Monster 7 will provide you with Soul Eaters, which are quite powerful too, although they have a very annoying sound effect, culminating in the Frost Giants and the Thana Daemon at Summon Monster 9. The Frost Giants are definitely the best, because well, you can have up to 6. The Daemon is limited to just 1, nowhere near as good. You can also get Boogeyman from earlier versions, but they aren't worth it because they are spellcasters like the good summons. So anyways, multiple dogs, multiple wolves, red caps, Soul Eaters and Frost Giants is the way to go. Now I can't forget to cover one of the ultimate summons in the game too, Creeping Doom, which can summon nasty spider swarms, 4 per cast. We won't be able to use this as an Inquisitor unless from a scroll, but characters like Darren get very easy access to it from the Nature Mystery, which I always pick in all of my builds, the same for Camellia. Spider swarms are great because first, they are immune to physical damage. Second, they don't require a roll to hit. All they have to do is touch the enemy with their hitbox, basically. And that's it, the enemy will be hit. The major limitation is they can only hit enemies once per round. And of course the duration is nowhere as big as our summon monsters from Monster Tactician and Beastmaster. This is ideally best saved for bosses. Now, for Creeping Doom to achieve its ultimate potential, you also need to rely on another class ability, which I'll soon cover because now it's time to talk about how to actually play as a summoner early game, and especially how to empower your summons to the max. First, and this is the most important part of it all, just like all of your party members including pets, if you want your summons to be more than mere distractions, you absolutely have to buff them. Buffing your summons will highly increase everything about their power, to hit chance, damage, and even armor class. Also, don't forget, by virtue of the improved Aeon's Bane ability gained at Mythic 6, all of your summons attacks will also automatically attempt to dispel all buffs from the enemies. It's already powerful enough on your Aeon, even better when you have it on multiple, up to 6 summons as well. Dispelling enemies is a very easy way of reducing the armor class of the toughest of enemies. Their attack rolls too, especially when you combine it with the Aeon Gaze and other debuffs. The end result is your summons will be even more powerful, as you're combining both buffing and debuffing all in the same package. Even if you were to remove the limited use buffs from here, you can still easily acquire higher than 50 attack bonus with them, not counting the d20 roll of course. I already have guides for how to buff your characters to the max, and it's the same logic because the same buffs that apply to party members will also apply to summons in Ref. For example, for armor class you have Shield of Faith, Mage Armor, and Bark Skin, while for attack rolls, Greater Magic Weapon extremely important because most summons have lowly enchanted weapons. The Frost Giants, for example, only have +2, with this it will become +5. Together with Crusader's Edge, a must-have for anyone, including your summons, for higher damage on hit, 2d6 against demons, and even higher to hit and damage too, from a further +2 enhancement against demons, for a total of +7 when you consider the Greater Magic Weapon. The rest, you know, is just the usual party-wide buffs that you also want on your party, so just be sure to cast your summon spells before you start buffing, such as Heroic Invocation, or Good Hope and Heroism for massive increases to attack and damage. The mass animal buffs aren't as needed, besides Cat's Grace for AC, because, well, Augment Summoning only increases Strength and Constitution. Don't forget Haste, of course, together with Prayer and Burst of Glory. Even a Rushalei's Ranger Bond ability will also work on your summon, so like I said, just go all out on them, as you also buff your party. Now, it doesn't need any saying that having a Scald party member will highly increase the power of your summons too. First, Lethal Stance for competence to attack rolls. Second, Animal Fury for the extra bite attack. It doesn't matter much for the initial animal summons, but for the later summons is another attack per round. And don't forget the Beast Totem line for higher armor class, and claw attacks too. By itself, a Scald can provide something like +9 to your summons attack rolls. It really is that good. Don't forget Mark of Justice from Paladin as well, which by itself can easily trivialize almost any boss in the game, even on unfair, even for your summons, by letting them bypass any damage reduction the enemy might have, together with a massive boost to their damage. And this is the ability that makes Creeping Doom so powerful. Now let's just do a quick section on how to play as a summoner, especially early game, before starting with our build. Well, the logic is simple. Very early in the game, until around chapter 2, so up to level 5 to 6, you'll be at your weakest, of course, but as early as 3, you can already summon multiple dogs. Of course, because these dogs will have low duration, only 3 minutes at level 3, although you do have multiple uses, there's not much of a point in, let's say, applying buffs like Shield of Faith, Bark Skin or Mage Armor. However, Blast is always a must-have, because it's party-wide. And don't forget, Bone Fists, the new spell added by the Shifter DLC, can also highly increase the damage of your early summons, because they're all animals, which means they attack with natural weapons for +2 to damage, even their armor class too. Anyways, ideally, early game, you want to first send whatever character you have as a tank, in this case, Lan's dog here. And by the way, if you don't have a pet, because Inquisitor only gets it at level 4+, you can just multiclass Lan or Wendwag as a hunter, and get a pet like the Leopard. You don't even need to play with them later on, but the Leopard early game has the highest AC, it can easily tank anything for you. Anyways, the strategy is the same as when it comes to protecting your lower AC characters. You want to send whoever you have as a tank ahead to catch the enemy's attention so that they focus on it first. Your summons will then follow afterwards, but the enemy by then will already be engaged with the tank. In this case I have my dog here, right, so it's already charging at the enemies. The enemies will now circle it while the summons will go for their flank. Meanwhile our summoner will attack from reach, behind the summons. And there we go. Of course, this was without our party helping. As I've said, whatever empowers your party also works for summons, so don't forget to heal them as well. Early game is mostly going to be through channel positive energy from Cleric or Oracle. But late game you'll have mass heal, which by itself ensures your summons will stay alive. Also note that the summons tend to sometimes lag behind the summoner character, which is another reason I prefer to leave tanking to someone else, right? Someone you can actually directly control to send charging at the enemy. Once you reach level 7+ at chapter 2, well, first, your summon spells will start lasting way longer, at 7 minutes plus, certainly more respectable, which also means you should consider buffing them with more powerful, shorter duration effects. With that out of the way, let's finally get into our summoner build. When it comes to class, I'd say you have two choices if you want an easy and fun time, even early game. First, Bard and Beast Tamer. Second, and my preferred pick, Inquisitor and Monster Tactician. Both of these classes actually gain free access to all of the Summon Monster line of spells as they progress in levels. These have separate uses from their actual spellcasting, as both Bard and Inquisitor can get up to level 6 spells. But most importantly, they also last way longer than the normal summons. By default, summon spells only last a single round per level, that is 6 seconds only per level. Not really that good considering you also have to buff them for proper efficiency. For the special Monster Tactician and Beastmaster abilities, however, they will last 1 minute per class level, that is 10 times as long as the normal version of the spells, together with multiple uses per day as well. Now the only limitation to this is you can only have a single one of the special summon monster ability on at the same time, that is, if you cast another the summons will just be replaced. However, you can still summon more creatures through other items and abilities. While it is true that a merged Lich or Angel could eventually have 24 hours duration even on the strongest summons, that takes forever to get, right? It's only a chapter 4+. For 80% of the game, you'll be stuck with 1 round level summons, which is why I vastly prefer Monster Tactician and Beastmaster. As for why Monster Tactician instead of Beastmaster, at least for this build, well, first, by having access to domains, you can of course pick Animal and get a full scaling pet. We are, after all, a summoner build. The pet isn't exactly a summon, but is actually way better, because it's permanent, customizable, and can be equipped with gear. Plus the more the better for a summoner, right? Second, they get the special Summon Tactics ability at level 5, which means they'll automatically share all of their teamwork feats, and they get a lot of them for free, with their summons. This also matters a lot, especially when it comes to, let's say, Outflank, which can highly increase the damage and 2-hit chance of your summons, together with Precise Strike and Shake It Off. Third, as you'll be going the AEON Mythic path, the Inquisitor's Bane ability will also stack with AEON Bane for even higher uses. But fear not, because later I'm also planning on a Beastmaster build. For now, Monster Tactician it is, however. As far as race, as always, I prefer to go with humans, especially for a build like this, because we don't really get any bonus feats outside of teamwork ones, and we have to spend feats to increase both our summoning potential together with melee power. The bonus feat from human really helps. For background, you have two choices. There's always the classic Street Urchin and Pickpocket, especially because you won't have the space for improved initiative until way later, and you can amusingly enough go with Lumberjack too, for free proficiency with all of the axes, and well, the Gravesinger Great Axe is the best weapon in the game. On the other hand, for this build, however, I have chosen to go with Fauchards because of their reach property, which means I don't need this background, so I'll just be going with Street Urchin and Pickpocket. But the choice is up to you. As far as your ability points, Strength is actually your main attribute. You want 19 at character creation. Charisma is very dumpable, it doesn't really matter for this build. Then 14 Dexterity, 13 is actually enough, so we can qualify for the Precise Strike Teamwork feat for higher summon damage. But well, 14 is what actually gets you more armor class and initiative. Together with 14 Constitution, it helps you have a nice amount of hit points. But this character won't really ever be in any danger, because at the beginning you can use reach weapons like long spears, and later you can just ride your pet. Lastly, 12 points of wisdom is actually enough, but I prefer 14 here. This way you don't need many boosts to cast all of the Inquisitor spells in the game. The rest you can get from gear. Of course, you don't have to dump Charisma as low if you don't want, just reduce something like Wisdom and get 10 Charisma and so on. For skill points, Athletics, because of our high strength, Inquisitors actually have all skills as class skills, meaning you can specialize into anything you want. Of course, as always, it's going to depend on the rest of your party, but to me, Perception, because we have decent Wisdom, and I also like Persuasion and use Magic Device, even if we have low starter Charisma, because it's very easy to increase them, and Inquisitors even have a special boost to Persuasion for Intimidate. The leftover point is up to you. I'll be going with Lore Religion, because I think it fits an Inquisitor. Now, for our level 1 feats, well, I'm not sure about you, but I do love being a human. Our extra feat will really matter for this level, because this way we can get Spell Focus, Conjuration. We won't really be casting any Conjuration spells outside of the Summon Monster abilities. It's just that this is a prerequisite for the Summon boosting feats. And anyways, still at level 1, we can also rush for Augment Summoning, the first summoning specific feat, which will increase the strength and constitution of all of your summons, including from these abilities here, by +4. So you won't have to bother casting both Strength or Bear's Endurance on them. Now for Deity, this is a bit tricky because we want Animal Domain, right? But, as I've explained before, the evil summons are by far the best. And well, the only deities that let you pick animal, Erastil, Goswer, and Green Faith, they don't let you be lawful evil. Although you can start as lawful neutral, and then, you know, before around level 11, just pick evil options and change into lawful evil. After all, the great evil summons only start appearing at level 11+. So you have plenty of time for alignment changes, and as far as I'm aware, it should not block your spellcasting. I've tested it a lot of times, and I was still able to cast my Inquisitor spells, even as lawful evil. Anyways, Animal Domain is the way to go. For spells, please remember that I've even recently released an updated version of my best Divine Spells guide, so for now I'll just keep it simple and short. Cure Light Wounds and Bless, one of the best ways of buffing your summons early game. As I said, you can only be lawful neutral, but later you can change to lawful evil. For level 2, Shield of Faith. For level 3, you want another special summon feat, Superior Summoning, which will increase the number of creatures you conjure with summon monster spells by 1 if they already summon more than just one creature. For example, let's say summon monster 1, it only summons a single dog, so this feat won't do anything, but summon monster 2 as far as the 1d3 dogs, well, you'll get a 3+1 from this, which means you can eventually have even up to 6 summons at the same time. Now for your first teamwork feat, Precise Strike is the way to go. I didn't recommend picking it before because it was applied separately to your damage, which made it very easy for enemies to resist it. Nowadays it's applied all together, meaning if you have ways of bypassing Demon's damage reduction, like, well, there's so many, including the special Summoner Mythic ability, well, your summons will deal an extra 1d6 points of damage per attack, and they need all the help they can get. Just remember, it will only apply to your summons once you hit level 5 for Summon Tactics. At this point it's only for the main character, but because of solo tactics, the other members of your party don't really need to have this. For another spell, Divine Favor. At level 4, increase Strength, which is also what you want to increase on all of the other levels as usual, for higher attack rolls and damage, plus the best AEON abilities, they all work based on your highest score. Now for your pet, ideally, as always, you want one of the tripping pets, and you have 3 choices, Boar, Dog, and Wolf. I'm not saying you can't pick another pet, right, it's just that these are the best ones. Having access to Trip is even better for a summoner party, because, well, it's another way of granting your summons extra attacks, and way higher chances of hitting the enemy. For level 2 spells, Lesser Restoration and Protection from Alignment Communal. At level 5, Boon Companion is the way to go. so that our pet will fully scale to our level, because by default it's at -3 from Animal Domain, and I would then pick Aid. For your second teamwork feat at 6, well, Outflank without a doubt, it highly increases the power of your summons, not to mention all your party members too. And then Cure Moderate Wounds. For level 7, this is when I would go for Exotic Proficiency Fauchard. Of course, if you prefer the Gravesinger Great Axe, you would already have it from the Lumberjack background, meaning you don't need this feat at all. It's just for something different. Because after all, the point is to attack behind your wall of summon creatures and pets, right? As a true summoner. With rich weapons we can do that. Plus Fauchards have the best critical range. Even better because the higher our critical chance, the more free attacks we'll be granting to our summons through Outflank. Too bad we can't be a Trickster. And then pick True Strike here. For level 3 spells, Prayer and Greater Magic Weapon, another very important buff for summons. And then Magical Vestment, you can pick Heroism too, it's just that I always have a Scald for that. For level 9, Lunge is the way to go as usual, you want as high reach as possible, especially if you went with Axes instead of Fauchards. For another teamwork feat, now it is time for Shake It Off, together with, let's say, Remove Curse. For level 10, Find Traps. And at level 4, Crusader's Edge, one of the ultimate buffs for any melee character, including summons, together with Restoration. For level 11, as always, improved critical into either Axes or Fauchard. Any spell here. And, well, freedom of movement, greater invisibility or Death Ward, it's up to you. For another teamwork feat, I like back to back because it does work as another way of increasing our summons armor class if they ever get flanked, together with Divine Power. For level 13, well, this is going to depend now on what you want to do with this build. As always, getting Shatter Defenses can be very useful, but we still need 3 feats for that. Meaning you can only pick it at level 17. I don't really think Shatter Defenses is needed for this build, because as an AEON Inquisitor, you have the easiest time dispelling enemies instantly of all their buffs, meaning they'll have way lower armor class. Even your summons will automatically dispel enemies too on their attacks. What's not to love? So I would rather go with Power Attack to start increasing our damage now. It's not just about summons after all. Any spell here. Amusingly enough, some of the Litany spells, well, they only last 1 round, but they cost us Swift Action and they don't really have a saving throw. For level 5 spells, Resounding Blow is the way to go for higher damage on hit, together with Stone Skin Communal. Any spell here, and anything you want at level 5 too, because the remaining ones don't matter much for this build. Might as well pick your Light Wounds. For level 15, Combat Reflexes. I delay it a lot because, well, we have other ways of getting more attacks of opportunity like the ever-ready mythic ability. But as I said, you can also pick Weapon Focus at 13, Dazzling Display at 15 and Shatter Defenses at 17 if you prefer. Any other teamwork feat, the remaining ones don't really matter. I like Allied Spellcaster because at least it does something, especially if you have spellcasting summons. Any level 5 spell, and either Freedom of Movement now or Burst of Glory. Protection from Energy Communal can help too. Now, for your first level 6 spells, Heal is as always the must-have. Dispel Magic is useless for an AEON because you automatically dispel enemies anyways by just hitting them. And well, True Sin Communal. For 17, Improved Initiative. Kinda late, but we don't have the space for it before, I'm afraid. Any other level 6 spell like Inspiring Recovery. Now, from level 18 onwards, you can actually multiclass into something else, because you already have the best summon monster ability anyways. I just don't see much of a point, to be fair, but there's always Ranger and Demon Slayer, and also Alchemist and Vivisectionist for the Mutagen. Even Fighter and Mutation Warrior 2 as 3 levels for the Mutagen and some extra feats. Let's just remain a pure monster tactician for once. Simple yet very effective. Any other teamwork feat now, such as Coordinated Defense. The issue with Seize the Moment is I'm pretty sure it will not stack with Outflank anymore. Any level 6 spell. Also, picking other classes will delay your pet's progression. Well, for 19 you can actually pick anything you want, and if you didn't go with a human you wouldn't have anything here. Let's just go with Weapon Focus and Fauchard. Alright, now let us cover Mythic Progression for our Summoner AEON. For the first Ascension, Close to the Abyss can be good only if you decided to go with Axes. Because if you went with 4 shards like I did, the Gore attack will clash with your reach weapon. So I'd say you have 2 other choices. Bit of Fun if you want to increase your skills, or close to the heavens for the very useful healing ability early and mid game. I think overall this is the best pick. For Mythic level 1, well, we are a summoner, so for once, we can actually benefit from the Ascended Summons Mythic ability, which will highly increase almost all of your summon stats by a bonus equal to half your Mythic rank plus 1. Even at this point, it should already be at plus 2. Lastly, their attacks will be able to bypass almost any form of damage reduction. For Mythic level 2, we want an extra Mythic ability, and you have two choices. Leading Strike can highly increase your damage because you alternate your attacks with your pet, and at this point you can already ride the pet. And there's of course the Mythical Beast, in the spirit of playing a summoner, right? I do consider the pet to be somewhat of a summon too. Except better. I do think Leading Strike will be more useful earlier, however. For Mythic 3, Ever Ready is the way to go as usual, especially because we only get combat reflexes rather late. Now for your first AEON gazes, please remember that I already have a full AEON guide explaining everything here in depth. So for now, as always, we'll keep it short and simple. Attack will be your main gaze until Mythic 6, when you can combine two at the same time, because it's by far one of the most useful ones. First, it applies to your whole party, it's not just summons. The extra increase to attack rolls can be quite good, and it also works for defenses, because whenever you activate it, enemies will be debuffed by the same amount you gain as attack rolls, which can result in -5 later, and the DC will be very high too. As an AEON, you'll actually get even more divine spells, so it's like having twice the Inquisitor spellbook. For Mythic level 4, as always, Mythic Critical Fauchard, or Access. For another gaze, Attack of Opportunity, but like I said, you can only combine two at Mythic 6. For Mythic level 5, this is when I would go for Mythical Beast. And at last, we can pick the Summoner's Gaze, which will directly increase the strength, dexterity, and constitution of all our summons, equal to half your Mythic rank. Kinda the same as Ascended Summons. As I said, wait until Mythic 6 to activate both of them. Attack is better because it applies to everyone, and debuffs the enemy's attack rolls. For Mythic 6, Mythic Power Attack is the way to go. The other gazes don't really matter because attack, attacks of opportunity, and the Summoner's Gaze are way above all others for this build, so feel free to pick anything you want like damage. For Mythic 7, if you fancy using Frightful Aspect scrolls to buff your character, Master Shapeshifter is the way to go. At this point, Naniel can just craft them by huge amounts. You can actually pick an Impossible Domain as an Inquisitor. I just prefer to leave this to Social, but of course if you didn't go with a deity that has Animal Domain, you can pick Animal from here. War can even grant you an extra feat, but there's also Mythic Charge, and even Abundant Bane if you want. The other gazes, as I've mentioned, don't matter. For Mythic 8, Mythic Improved Initiative at last. Mythic 9 can be anything you want. I'll just pick Last Stand, cause why not? The main reason I don't pick this earlier, even if you are playing on Unfair, well, this character isn't really at danger of being hit by the enemies. And as for Mythic 10, feel free to pick anything you want, and remember at this point you have 3 gazes at the same time. Ideally, Attack, Attacks of Opportunity, and Summoner's Gaze. Well, alright, now let us cover gear for our Summoner AEON build. For the Amulet, as always, Valexius for the further bonus to Strength. For Armor, Chainmail of Camaraderie for even higher damage when flanking. Something very easy to do when riding your pet. But of course you have many summons too to help with that. Now for the Robe slot, this is very important. Source of Dividing Power. Whenever you use a Divine Power to summon a creature, and it does work with your special Summon Monster abilities, you can choose between automatically applying either Holy or Unholy to all of your summons attacks. Holy is the way to go. Be sure to outline the ability like this, so that it works. And Holy means an extra 2d6 irresistible damage per attack against evil creatures, all demons. Source of Dividing Power can be bought from the Arcane Weaver Merchant at Dresden at Chapter 3 the earliest. For the belt, ultimately the belt of the last of the first humans from the Shifter DLC is as always going to be the best for most builds, for huge bonuses to attack and damage. But before that, just belts that increase strength. And then you can choose between Strength, Dexterity, and or Constitution, or all of them with Physical Perfection bells, but Strength is your main priority. For the gloves, one of the main reasons we are going with Evil Summons is because of the unique Jaws of the Jackal gloves. Whenever you summon an evil creature, they'll get a +2 bonus to Natural Armor class, together with also a +4 profane bonus to attacks, saves, and skill checks, mostly for attacks. And of course, if you choose to summon the Thana Daemon, who is the strongest of the evil summons, it will be boosted by double the amount. I'd rather summon the multiple Frost Giants, however. For boots, Stampede is the way to go as usual, for higher damage when charging. For headbands, early the ones that increase wisdom, but later the Hat of the Bitter End for the maximum bonus to attack rolls, together with Broken Trickster as usual to boost your wisdom, as you cast all Monster Tactician spells. Don't forget, AEONs can also equip the unique Lances of Prolonged Gaze found at Midnight Fane during Chapter 3 to increase your gaze uses, until they become infinite, that is. For cloaks, the AEON Cloak is extremely powerful, most likely the best of all the Mythic Cloak variants. It buffs your whole party including summons with not just haste, but also a huge +4 insight bonus to attack rolls. For rings, imminent demise because we are two-handing regardless if you went with 4 shards or great access, together with the very thematic Ring of Summoning. Now this doesn't need to be on your main character, right, because the best effect works as an aura. It buffs everyone including summons with a +2 bonus to weapon damage against chaotic creatures, that is, all demons. Plus, it also lets you cast the Summon Monster spell 8 once per day. But of course, the duration won't really be as high as your special abilities from Monster Tactician or Beastmaster. Still, free summons are free summons and they will stack with the other ones. And don't forget, because the Ring of Summoning can be equipped on anyone, you can just leave the Ring of Triumphant Advance to the main character for even higher power. Be sure to have another party member equipped with the Clemency of Shadows, or just trade it for Ring of Summoning. This also works as an aura, so it doesn't have to be on the main character, but anyways, this ring is super fun, especially for a summoner. First, it increases the number of attacks of opportunity everyone inside can make by +1. Very good, because summons, well, they don't tend to have combat reflexes or they have a ready mythic ability. And because of outflank, they will be getting lots of attacks of opportunity. Second, if the attack of opportunity was a critical hit, the enemy will be automatically staggered, also very powerful, but most importantly, and this is the fun part for a summoner, if any of your party members falls unconscious, a giant spider will be summoned to fight alongside you. And here's the best part. It works on summons too, right? Let's say your summons die. Well, spiders will spawn. And then if the spider themselves die, more spiders will also spawn. So you can eventually end up with a massive army of spiders, even if they don't hit the enemy very hard, right? At least in the hands of an actual summoner, they'll be boosted to the max. It's certainly very fun to watch. For bracers, just Abrupt Onslaught for sneak attack damage. Alright, now let us cover weapons and Quickslots, and we do have a lot of them for a summon build. For weapons, I went with 4 shards for reach and high criticals, but you can also go with the Gravesinger Great Axe. Just remember, early game, until you can ride your pet, you definitely want to go with long spears instead for reach. Our second most important weapon is Stormcaller. This has the very unique effect of empowering all your summoned creatures with an additional 1d6 points of sonic damage. It might not seem like much, but a lot of extra sources of damage can be applied to this, including, let's say, Paladin's Mark of Justice, so the extra damage can add up. You also don't even need to have this equipped on all of the time. Just be sure to have it before casting or summon spells. Afterwards, you can just switch back to your main weapon. Stormcaller can be found during Aru's quest at Chapter 4. The Call of the Ocean Trident is only here because it has an ability that lets you summon a large water elemental. And well, we are all about summoning. Tridents can be equipped by an Inquisitor if you went with Gossarid, the deity I picked. There's of course Soul Shear, which can summon creatures on cue, in this case demons of scaling strength depending on the power of the enemy. It's just that I'd much rather 4 shards for the higher critical range, which means more free attacks to your summons. Now when it comes to Quickslots, we have many nice items too. First, the Book of Dreams. I think this book is supposed to have stronger effects based on the number of pages, but it's never really unlocked for me. It's meant to be as you progress through the game. In any case, even the early effect is already amazing, because it increases the number of your summoned creatures by +1, just like the superior summoning feat, and they do stack. So you can have, let's say, a maximum of 6 Frost Giants at the same time from Summon Monster 9. Brazen Whip is quite handy as well, it comes from Winter Sun, and well, it essentially increases the number of attacks per round your summons can make by an extra +1, which does stack with the Haste spell by the way, so that's 2 extra attacks for summons. It does have the downside of slowing you, but well, if you have freedom of movement, you can become immune to the slow effect, and as an Aeon and Inquisitor you can cast it just fine. Even if you don't manage to become immune, it's still a great addition, because it's an extra +2 attacks for many summon creatures. The Covenant of the Inheritor Relic can also help, but well, to Ascended summons, you can just bypass most damage reduction anyways. 10 card of Free Spirit is here as one of the special items that let you summon creatures. It works even if you aren't an AZATA, and even summons more creatures based on your level. For another summon item we have the Duality of Conjuration and Summoning. It can provide you with a lot of special minor effects, but most importantly it lets you summon Nabasu demons or Monadic Devas for free. Just remember, there's a chance they'll be hostile. Of course, if you didn't pick a pet by not having Animal Domain, Triceratops Statuette will come in handy. And there's always any scrolls you want to use Magic Device, especially Frightful Aspect to get the boost from Master Shapeshifter if you want. Well, alright friends, so this was it for my first ever Summoner build and guide. If you found it useful as always, please remember to like, subscribe and also consider becoming a channel member. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends.